We have all been eagerly waiting for alt season 2 officially begin, and we have been waiting for what seems like almost forever. But I want you guys to understand that the longer that this takes, the better for all of us. Why? Well, because it means more liquidity is building behind this space that will flow into large caps and those altcoins that we hold. This is where we really do start to get rich. Now, in this video, I actually want to talk a little bit about what Tom Lee recently just told us, because what we are starting to see here is a big shift in real time that's confirming how us altcoin holders, if you are holding XRP, HBAR, it doesn't matter, but how we are going to actually get wealthy off of what Tom Lee is specifically doing here. Now, I want to start off with the path to alt season. You guys are not shy to this image. I've shared it many times over in the last couple weeks because I do think that we are in phase 2 officially. Even on this recent market move, Ethereum has actually been bouncing stronger than Bitcoin, which is telling us that the strength behind Ethereum, the bind behind Ethereum, the demand behind Ethereum is more significant than Bitcoin at this point. And even from the institutional side, the enterprise side as well, we are starting to see Ethereum really picking up a ton of pace. I've talked to you guys about some of the signals here, right? Like, one big thing is the usage of Ethereum. It just hit yearly highs. 1.82 million transactions in a single day. Layer 2 adoption, RWA tokenization, and DeFi activity are quietly fueling this surge. And it's not just that, right? The buying demand of Ethereum is also insane right now. And it's because we are starting to see public companies accumulating Ethereum. We're starting to see big names really pushing Ethereum in a huge way. The institutional players that have Ethereum ETFs are celebrating, how significant their ETF inflows are and have been. They've actually been outpacing Bitcoin ETF inflows. So when we think about this, yeah, we are in phase 2. And the good part about this is we're starting to see the liquidity flipping from Bitcoin into Ethereum. And now is the time to lock in. If you hold an altcoin, now is the time to focus on this. Because what just happened with Bitcoin into Ethereum, and it's just beginning, by the way, just wait until you see how high Ethereum actually goes. We are going to see that same move happen with Ethereum into altcoins. All we have to do is be patient here. And I know that that's asking a lot because so far we have been extremely patient, but trust me when I say the wait will be worth it. Now, let's talk about a few things outside of Ethereum for a moment. And that's the global M2 supply, because this is also a very important thing to focus on. The M2 supply around the world, from China to the US, the EU to Japan to even Germany, they've all been increasing. And China, theirs has been increasing significantly from the new year to where they are at right now. And the question is, what's happening with the US, right? Because previously, 21.88 trillion, we just hit $22.02 trillion. The next release is at the end of this month, August 26th. We could actually see the big spike here. We could actually see the whole year, right? If we go back to, let's just go back to December of 2024. We were at 21,441, which for those out there that don't know, this is $21.4 trillion. We just hit 22 trillion. So from December to now, we added almost $600 trillion or $600 billion to the global M2 supply for the US. Think about how crazy that is. Now, on this next release, I'm definitely focused on this because I do think that we're going to go from 22,000. This is 22,000 billion, by the way. So it's in units of billions of dollars. So we're going to go from 22 trillion probably to about $22.2 trillion because we know the Fed has been quickly injecting liquidity into the system in a silent way to prop markets up in a much larger way. And why are we focused on this? Well, number one, Bitcoin and crypto has been following the M2 supply significantly. And this is at a time where there's now a 92% chance that Powell will cut rates at the next FOMC meeting in September. This will lead to every single market exploding. I agree, because again, when we do see this, this is going to erupt markets even higher. And the craziest part about this is think about how bullish the entire environment around crypto is right now. Okay, Ethereum is starting to go crazy. Ethereum is going crazy at a time where we're now into phase 2 of Volt season, and we're starting to see the M2 supply going crazy, and we now have a 90.2% chance of a rate cut in September, a 96.7% chance of a rate cut in October, and then a 99.3% chance of a rate cut in December. This is going to allow ease of motion from the Fed to print even more money, to prop markets up even higher, and inject even more liquidity into the system. This is going to cause the M2 supply to go insane, which is going to, in return, cause crypto and stocks to also go insane. This is also at a time where XRP is trading at $3+ and Ethereum is trading at almost 3,700. Now, I bring this up because also XRP has been outperforming Ethereum so far in the last year. I do think that Ethereum is going to catch up in a huge way, but I do think that XRP continues to outperform, which if we're thinking about this, how high is Ethereum projected to hit this cycle? Well, we have been hearing price predictions for quite some time. We've been hearing, 10,000 and 15,000 and 20,000. Some people are a little bit on the lower side at around 7,500 or 8,500 or 9,500. In my opinion, I think that we could easily target the 10K zone. It wouldn't really surprise me at all. And a lot of people will say that that's crazy to think, but think about where Bitcoin is. Bitcoin's almost at 115K again. It broke $123,000. In the last cycle, it was about roughly $67,000. So if we're thinking about this logically, we almost doubled in value from that prior all-time high. And if we're thinking about Ethereum, Ethereum's all-time high is almost $5,000. A double here would be almost 10K, which it makes a lot of sense. Now, if we do see Ethereum hit $10,000, and we're thinking about that altcoin season index flow, right? This would allow altcoins like XRP to go insane. And it's at a time where Tom Lee, the chairman of BitMine, said that the company now holds 833,000 Ethereum, close to $3 billion, making it the largest Ethereum treasury in the world and the third largest crypto treasury in the world as well. Check this out.
Just a month ago, I was on the show to announce I was becoming chairman. And at the time, the stock was $4.50, and we announced a $250 million investment led by Founders Fund and Mosaics and others. But today, we announced that we reached almost $3 billion worth of ETH. And
the largest ETH holder then.
Yeah, the largest ETH treasury in the world and the third largest crypto treasury in the world. And we also announced that Bill Miller III made a major investment last week into BitMine. So he joins Cathie Woods in investing in our company in the past couple weeks.
Now, what's even crazier about this, right, is this is fueling the growth of Ethereum. Like I said, public companies, major players like Tom Lee are now dropping massive amounts of money into Ethereum. And this is at a time where Ethereum's all-time chart looks like this. We are fighting resistance, just waiting for this to break over. We have now hit resistance 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. And by the way, this is not on a daily candle. This is on a monthly candle. We have so many retests of that major resistance. The second that we finally break that $4,000 target and we finally break to that 5K zone, you better buckle up, because again, this is where we start to see that violent move across the altcoin market. And also, by the way, Tom Lee sees a strong August rally ahead, and he's calling for markets to hit new all-time highs in the next few weeks. Fed pressures easing, markets might rip. And yes, the perfect environment right now, the perfect storm, is hovering around us, and it's not a bad storm. No, it's a good storm. And we'll talk about this here in a moment. Listen closely to what Tom Lee is saying here.
Fair to say that since it's a dual mandate, that maybe the Fed should have been able to think that there was more risk to a slowdown than to inflation. Do you think they missed that a little bit in the fighting? I don't know, but Trump said you got to cut, so they couldn't. Maybe they had to err that way just for political reasons.
Yeah, I think the Fed needs to demonstrate independence, but you're right. I think when they look at their dual mandate, they're probably drifting further from the employment metric now, because the unemployment rate, if you use the existing participation rate before this report, it's almost 5% now. So the Fed now has to be considering the risk of jobs market actually going into a cycle of weakening.
Right, but you have also been, I guess dovish is the word, on inflation. You have not thought that there was going to be necessarily a big impact from the tariff regime.
That's right. And I think the biggest takeaway is, first of all, if you look at the latest inflation report, the goods component that are tariff driven, it's been only mild. But also, if you use the same inflation measure Europe uses, which is inflation X housing, we're actually under 2%. The Fed, if they were the ECB, would be cutting right now.
That's interesting. So by the end of the year, or what target are you using now, and what time frame?
I think we're gonna rally pretty strongly in August. So I think we can get back to 65, or get to 65, 6,600 all-time highs in the next couple weeks.
And then 7,000 in the next 12 months, above that?
Yeah, probably well above that.
Well above that.
Yeah.
And I do agree with Tom Lee here. I really do think that most people are anticipating, further drops in the market. They're not looking into what's happening behind all of this noise. Think about it, right? Like when we look at money market funds, for example, this has been something that we've been following since going back to even 2022 to really kind of support the thesis that the market was bottoming out and there was a lot of money that could hit the crypto market. Today, there is $7 trillion sitting on the sidelines. Guys, retail is accountable for $2 trillion of this $7 trillion. Think about that. $2.9 trillion is what retail is holding right now. Institutions, almost 2 trillion. This is the amount of money sitting on the sidelines waiting for something big to happen. What about markets surging even higher and higher and higher, causing FOMO to hit them? Stocks already having a bounce, right? We were talking about it, the blue zone, the demand zone, right? I think that we are cooling off now because we had that nice run. Now we're cooling off. We might chop here a little bit. I wouldn't mind chopping a little bit, but this is my focus, right? I do see us surging significantly. And it does happen the second that we start to have that nice reversal in mind. So far, this is a very strong reversal, right? We went from 62.11 all the way to 63.30 almost. Guys, I'm very much so looking forward to seeing us break over 6,500. If we could break over 6,500, then that 69.60 target that I've been talking about is next on the board. Guys, people are not ready for this. They still think lower. They're still not dead set on this being the bottom. This is exactly why when we think about how bullish the environment here is, right? The Fed is starting to flip. We're starting to see the M2 supply continuing to increase in liquidity. And this is also at a time where, most people are not anticipating Ethereum breaking over this resistance. The second that Ethereum breaks over this resistance and targets, $5,000, we're going to see altcoins going insane. If we go back to 2021, there's a lot of altcoins that were 10xing in a week span. There was even altcoins that did 100x return. And I'm not saying that these altcoins are going to do a 100x return. I'm just saying that, it's not unheard of in a alt season. During the alt season, that's when we get the most insane moves across the board for alts. That's where we get those parabolic rises. So right now is the best time to lock in. Focus on what's happening here. Don't listen to the noise. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.